اللهم صل على اللهم صل
بل محمد بل محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام، صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حج بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام، واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيرك يا رحمن يا علام. دعاء افتتاح. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك، وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة، وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة، وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك، فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي، وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي، وأقل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها، وهموم قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أقلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الذل، وكبره تكبيرا. الله. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده، الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يدا، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وسترك عن قبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك، فسرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك، فإن أبطأ عني عتبت بجهلي عليك، ولعل الذي يبتع عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور، فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي. يا ربي إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك وتتودد علي فلا أقبل منك كأن لي أتطول عليك، فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك، فرحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادل ولا شبيه يشاكل ولا ظهير يعاضد، قهر بعزته العزة وتواضع لعظمته العظمى فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا عاصي ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي، فكم من موهبة حنية قد أعطاني وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني وبهجة مونقة قد أراني، فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مصبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يحتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد صائل ولا يخيب آمل. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الحاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البهار ومن يسمه في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك، أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين، عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. وصل على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي هججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعل داعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله. مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له، أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به وانصره وانتصر به وانصره نصرا عزيزا وافتح له فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم اظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتضل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شعثنا واشعب به صدعنا وارتق به فنقنا وكثر به قلتنا وعزز به ذلتنا واغن به عائلنا واقض به عن مغرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وصد به خلتنا ويسر به عسرنا وبيض به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وانجح به طلبتنا وانجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا واعطنا به سؤلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا واعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المؤتين. اش به صدورنا واذب به غيظ قلوبنا واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وعلى وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا، فصل على محمد وآله وعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجل وبضر تكشف ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم برحمتك في الصالحين فادخلنا وفي عليين فارفعنا وبكأس من معين من عين سلسبيل فاسقنا ومن الحور العين برحمتك فزوجنا ومن الولدان المخلدين كأنهم لؤلؤ مكنون فأخدمنا ومن ثمار الجنة ولحوم الطير فأطعمنا، ومن ثياب السندس والحرير والاستبرق فألبسنا، وليلة القدر وحج بيتك الحرام وقتلا في سبيلك فوفق لنا، وصالح الدعاء والمسألة فاستجب لنا، وإذا جمعت الأولين والآخرين يوم القيامة فأرحمنا، وبراءة من النار فاكتب لنا، وفي جهنم فلا تقل لنا، وفي عذابك وهوانك فلا تمتلنا، ومن الزقوم والضريع فلا تطعمنا، ومع الشياطين فلا تجعلنا، وفي النار على وجوهنا فلا تكببنا، ومن ثياب النار وسرابيل القطران فلا تلبسنا، ومن كل سوء يا لا إله إلا أنت بحق لا إله إلا أنت فنجنا فنجنا فنجنا. اللهم إني أسألك أن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر من الأمر المحتوم في الأمر الحكيم من القضاء الذي لا يرد ولا يبدل، أن تكتبني من حجاج بيتك الحرام المبرور حجهم، المشكور سعيهم، المغفور ذنوبهم، المكفر عن سيئاتهم، وأن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر أن تطيل عمري في خير وعافية وتوسع في رزقي، وتجعلني ممن تنتصر به لدينك ولا تستبدل بي غيري. أعوذ بجلال وجهك الكريم أن ينقضي عني شهر رمضان، أو يطلع الفجر من ليلتي هذه ولك قبلي تبعة أو ذنب تعذبني عليه. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إلهي وقف الصائلون ببابك، ونادى الفقراء بجنابك، وانقفت سفينة المساكين على صاحل بحر جودك وكرمك، يرجون الجواز إلى ساحة رحمتك. إلهي إن كنت لا تغفر في هذا الشهر الشريف إلا لمن أخلص لك في صيامه وقيامه، فمن للمذنب المقصر إذا غرق في بحر ذنوبه وآثامه. إلهي إن كنت لا ترحم إلا المطيعين فمن للعاسين، وإن كنت لا تقبل إلا من العاملين فمن للمقصرين. إلهي ربح الصائمون وفاز القائمون ونجى المخلصون، ونحن عبيدك المذنبون، فارحمنا برحمتك وعاتقنا من النار بعفوك يا كريم يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم ادخل على أهل القبور السرور، اللهم أغني كل فقير، اللهم أشبع كل جائع، اللهم اكسو كل عريان، اللهم اقض دين كل مدين، اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين، اللهم اشفي كل مريض، اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك، اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر، إنك على كل شيء قدير.
Allahu Akbar. Ya Ali. Ya Ali. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Thank you. Yep. Can we ask the brothers outside to come inside, please? Shall I make the announcement in Urdu? Andara? Andar aa jao. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلوات وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. تقبل الله أعمالنا وأعمالكم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your fasting, and inshallah we have so far been able to benefit from this holy month. Continuing on with session number 5 on an overview of Nahj-ul-Balaghah, I'd like to speak about the manuscripts and editions and translations and commentaries on Nahj-ul-Balaghah. Something that I have already covered before is the level of work that is needed to preserve our Islamic Shi'i culture and heritage through the early writings of our ulama. And definitely this is something that needs a lot of work and effort, and also a lot of expertise as well. If you could remove the echo, that would be good, please. Now, Alhamdulillah, something that we also know is that the Shi'i school of thought, as represented by our esteemed ulama, have dedicated a lot of time in preserving this culture and this heritage, especially in the writing method. I've covered this before, and I think it is extremely important for us to appreciate what it is that they had gone through and how difficult it was, especially with all the persecution, the poverty, the expensive requirements for writing down of notes and books and things like that. But yet we still have that proud heritage that we are able to see existing with us even until today in our manuscript libraries all around the world. Yes, one of the disappointing problems that we have also come to realize is a lot of our Shia heritage, Islamic heritage, has been looted as well and stolen and taken to other libraries and universities around the world. And I say looted and stolen because a country that is colonialized and controlled by a foreign entity, they're able to do absolutely everything and, of course, take out whatever it is that they are able to and attribute it to themselves. when it comes to the manuscripts of Nahj-ul-Balaghah itself, there are numerous manuscripts that exist. Some of them date back to early 450 and before 450 after Hijrah. Sharif al-Radhi, he passed away in the year 406 after Hijrah. Now, from my, very basic kind of investigation, I'm not an expert in manuscript research, but what I was able to find is that the oldest existing copy of Nahj-ul-Balaghah that exists in its entirety, not parchments and not separate individual papers, but in its entirety goes back to 521 after Hijrah, which is still something good, although 100 years has passed. But as you know, the whole way of how books were being kept and preserved was through manuscript writing. And clearly, when it does come to preserving these books, they were very, very difficult and are still very, very difficult till this day, especially when it comes to insects and worms and other enemies of paper and parchments. As far as the editions that are concerned, the most common, the most popular edition of Nahj-ul-Balaghah that has some footnotes, explanatory footnotes, is the Nahj-ul-Balaghah edition of Sheikh Muhammad Abduh, the famous Sunni Egyptian Mufti. There are other editions that came about as well, but none of them have the popularity of Sheikh Muhammad Abduh. There are other things that have been included into certain editions of Nahj-ul-Balaghah, like books that further add other khutbahs or letters or wise sayings. There are, for example, it says Mustadrak. What does Mustadrak mean? Mustadrak here basically means the additional glosses that are added to the already existing Nahj-ul-Balaghah. Mu'jam Nahj-ul-Balaghah is basically a lexicon, a dictionary of words and terms used in Nahj-ul-Balaghah that makes it easily accessed by scholars who want to look up, for example, a particular topic in Nahj-ul-Balaghah. You go back to the lexicon, you go back to the, for example, Masadir. Masadir means the bibliography of Nahj-ul-Balaghah. So each and every khutbah or letter or wise saying, what is the masdar? What is the reference that Sharif al-Radhi took this from, which is also extremely, extremely important. Let me explain something going on. Or Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Is it another program? Or? I'd like to share a little bit of information about Sheikh Muhammad Abduh, because, of course, if you remember in the first session that I had, I said that it's very shameful, very disappointing that we, as those who claim to love Imam Ali alayhi salam, have not yet really discovered the depth of who Amirul Mu'mineen is. And this is something that we have to acknowledge, we have to admit that we have shortcomings in regards to understanding and knowing and valuing, really valuing Imam Ali alayhi salam. Other than the minbar and other than short lectures and programs and majalis, and other than some reading of information here and there, we still haven't invested enough time in understanding Imam Ali alayhi salam. And it's disappointing, it's shameful that a non-Shi'i takes credit of introducing Imam Ali to the Muslim world more than what it is that a Shi'i was able to do. So before Sheikh Muhammad Abduh, Nahj-ul-Balaghah was abandoned and not known, and majority of Sunnis also had no idea what Nahj-ul-Balaghah was. But him being a reformist, him being a very critical thinker, and also him being someone who was fascinated by Arabic literature, he accidentally stumbled upon Nahj-ul-Balaghah, and he realized that there's no critical edition, there's no good print of Nahj-ul-Balaghah, and therefore he found it upon himself to research and produce Nahj-ul-Balaghah. So even the Nahj-ul-Balaghah that we have, it is the edition of this scholar, Sheikh Muhammad Abduh. Now, Sheikh Muhammad Abduh was also someone who had traveled to non-Islamic countries, to the West. And he has a famous saying here down the bottom, if you can read it, that I went to the West, I saw Islam, but I didn't see Muslims. I went back to the East, I saw Muslims, and I didn't see Islam. And again, if we were to be very critical of how we are, we would agree with that. You know, the more you travel towards Asia and the Middle East, the dirtier the streets are. And the more you travel towards Europe and other countries, the cleaner the environment is. Okay, but what happened with that slogan, that prophetic slogan that we always chant all the time? Al-nadhafatu min al-iman. What happened with that? Why aren't we putting any effort in trying to implement the teachings of our own religion? Yes, Muhammad Abduh looked at this not as a historical book, not as a theological point of reference. He saw this as a book of literature, a book of adabiyat, Arabic literature, and that is usually the approach that is taken as far as how people make reference to it. But yet, a lot of credit goes back to him in what it is that he was able to produce to the Muslim Ummah. A very good thing is that there have been many translations of Nahj-ul-Balaghah. And interestingly, again, something that is really interesting is that those who translated Nahj-ul-Balaghah into English were mainly from the Indo-Paki subcontinents, right? And of course, in most cases, they were Shia, and you're able to see by their names, you know, who they were. Question is, which of these translations would I recommend? I think that the more recent translation of Yasin al-Juburi is a relatively simple English language translation. And there's also another translation that was made by another author by the name of Ali Raza or something like that. His translation is also good because it also has some explanatory notes as well, which is also useful. This is only in regards to the English translation. Of course, I copy-pasted this from Wiki Shia, which is very, very useful. And these are just some of the covers of the translation. So that's Juburi's one. And the Shrine of Imam Ali alayhi salam also republished that. It was printed and published in America first. And then you have the Sayyid Ali Reza translation, but I'm talking about this one here. This is a good translation. And of course, you've got other translations in other languages. That's French. You've got German. You've got Russian. You've got many, many, many other languages. And of course, that's Urdu, isn't it? Yes. Translated by Allama Sayyid Zishan Haidar Jawadi. I don't know if I just saw this on Google, so I just wanted to add it as well. Okay. How about commentaries? Do I need to explain what edition means, what translation means, what commentary means? I don't think so, but I'll just do it for the record. Edition means the manuscript being printed into a book. Of course, that needs to be typed down. It needs to be researched. A manuscript needs to be compared with another existing manuscript, and then you come up with the end result of that text. They call that edition. And that's why, for example, sometimes if you've got a university textbook or something like that, it says second edition, third edition, right? So the Nahj-ul-Balaghah edition is, for example, what we have from Sheikh Muhammad Abduh and Dashti and Husseini. The translation is just as it means, a translating of the text from Arabic to the different languages. A commentary is a detailed explanation, not just footnote explanations, basic explanations, a detailed explanation of the passages, the parts, the sermons, the letters, the wise sayings of Nahj-ul-Balaghah. There are three types of commentaries. You have the mukhtasar, the brief, annotated commentary, sharh, we say sharh in Arabic. You have the middle, kind of mid-range commentary, and then you have the extended, long, detailed commentary. So there are three types. And we have in our Shi'i libraries that we have all three types of shuruh and commentaries. When it does come to commentary, some might take the linguistic approach and focus only on the language of Nahj-ul-Balaghah. Some might take the Rijali Hadithi approach, trying to source back the references of Nahj-ul-Balaghah. Some might take the historical, theological approach and analyze the events that have been mentioned in Nahj-ul-Balaghah with further cross-referencing from other primary sources. In all, if you want to expand in your knowledge and understanding of Nahj-ul-Balaghah, you must refer back to these commentaries. Some of these commentaries are by Shia ulama, some of these commentaries are by Sunni ulama. The most popular commentary on Nahj-ul-Balaghah is by Ibn Abil Hadid al-Mu'tazili. So he was a Mu'tazili Sunni, and he wrote a detailed, extensive commentary on Nahj-ul-Balaghah. And it is the most referenced back, the most used commentary of Nahj-ul-Balaghah, right? Al-Allama Al-Amini, in his encyclopedia, he mentions that there are 81 shuruh, 81 commentaries. And Sheikh Agha Buzurg Al-Tahrani, in his Al-Dhari'a ila Tasanif Al-Shi'a. Al-Dhari'a is an encyclopedia where Sheikh Agha Buzurg Tahrani wrote down all of the books authored by Shia ulama. He wrote down all of the books written by Shia ulama. And please, for me and you, this could be an easy task because we have Google, right? And we can go back to Google and read these things. But at times where they didn't have printing facilities, they didn't have computers and internet, how could, and that's why I started off by saying we really have to appreciate the level of efforts that our ulama went through. How could someone be that precise and daqiq and be able to find every single Shi'i book that has been written, not only give details of the book and the content, but also the author as well. And you all know, as I'm going to show very quickly, that sometimes some ulama who didn't know about the writing of another alim maybe could have written a book with the same title. But yet we can see this great scholar, Sheikh Agha Buzurg, giving detail. Don't mistake this title written by this alim, and making that comparison as well. So Sheikh Agha Buzurg, he says that there are 150 commentaries on Nahj-ul-Balaghah. I don't know if you're able to see anything that is written in here, and that's why I will just share with you the popular commentaries based on the chronological history of when they were written. Sheikh Hibatullah al-Rawandi was among the first to write a detailed, extensive commentary on Nahj-ul-Balaghah, and he called that Minhaj-ul-Bara'ah fi Sharhi Nahj-ul-Balaghah. The second is, who we mentioned, Ibn Abil Hadid al-Mu'tazili, the famous Mu'tazili Sunni. Of course, some Sunni ulama believe that he was Shia, he was Shi'i, and he was doing taqiyya. But most definitely, according to what our ulama say, he was most definitely Sunni. Then a Sayyid Maytham Al-Bahrani, he wrote 3 commentaries, a brief commentary, a middle, mutawassit, middle commentary, and an extensive detailed commentary. And all 3 of them are very, very useful. And this was the custom of some of our ulama who wrote books, who were passionate about a certain field and wrote them based on wanting to give it to the general masses according to their level of comprehension. Like a Sheikh Al-Faydh Al-Kashani, the famous scholar who wrote tafsir in different levels, tafsir As-Safi, tafsir Al-Asfa, right? One was longer and detailed than the other, and this was something very, very common. I said that sometimes you have ulama who have the same title of books. Sometimes it's coincidental. Sometimes it has a little bit of a difference. But here is another very popular commentary on Nahj-ul-Balaghah by Sayyid Habibullah Al-Khu'i, where this scholar, although he did not finish writing a commentary on all of Nahj-ul-Balaghah, it wasn't complete, but it is definitely the largest. I think it's around about 20-something volumes, right? Sheikh Hassan Zada Amuli, one of our contemporary scholars, wrote a takmila, a addendum, a continuation of Sayyid Habibullah Al-Khu'i's Minhajul Bara'a. There's something wrong with the... Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The screen's gone black here. Oh, okay. Sorry. Something went wrong. Am I okay to continue or? All right. Someone want to fix this then? Oh, it says no internet. As long as the broadcasting is continuing, is it? Okay, so I'll just continue. It doesn't matter. It says can't connect. Okay. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad. Okay, sorry about that. Now, I wanted to share an example about why it is so important to be very precise, accurate, careful, and also honoring the amana of transmitting of information. Observing the amana, honoring amana of transmitting of information, for us, it's very, very important. And you have to say something, whether it is for you or it is against you. One of the points that I was making yesterday is, let's not be too strict, too rigid in not accepting and not tolerating views of others, especially if they might not be the same as mine. If I say to you that I have an issue with this particular problem, with this particular hadith or this particular khutbah, I'm going to be speaking about this when I talk about some of the statements of Imam Ali that have brought about some criticism. But if someone has a different perspective, that doesn't mean that they hate Imam Ali. That doesn't mean that they're no longer Muslim or Shi'i. They just have a different perspective. As long as they are qualified, as long as they know what it is that they are talking about, they are an expert in this field. But if they're for example, an engineer, or they're have this occupation or that occupation, they haven't gone through the extensive work of what our esteemed ulama go through, and they want to say that, okay, well, in my opinion this or my opinion that. No, unfortunately, that's not something that can be so easily accepted. Alim, a qualified scholar, has the right to have a certain opinion according to his expertise. Yes, within the perimeters of mainstream tashayyu', right? Whether that be an orthodox view or an unorthodox view, he has that entitlement and we should respect that. But if he is misconstruing the information, if he's not being loyal to the text, if he is doing something based on a premeditated misconception, then of course that cannot be accepted in any way or form. And that's why one of the criticisms that were directed at Nahj-ul-Balaghah, as we mentioned yesterday, was that Imam Ali had no problem with the Sahaba, with the Khulafa. He had no issue with the Khulafa. And evidence to this is Sheikh Muhammad Abdu's edition, where he mentions this. قال عليه السلام وعجباه. Imam Ali, salamullahi alayh, he says how shocking it is, how strange it is. أتكون الخلافة بالصحابة والقرابة? Can Khilafah really be in companions and in the kin of the Holy Prophets? What is he saying here? He's saying that Khilafah can't be with the kin and the family of the Prophets. Khilafah cannot happen if you are a family member of the Prophets. So basically he's saying that, I can't be the Khalifa. Why? Because I have qarabah with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Now this is the common edition that we usually reads, but alhamdulillah, the greatest blessing that we have is our ulama, and our ulama have eagle eyes picking up on these things very, very quickly. And they show this, of course, discrepancy, intentional or unintentional. It is wrong. And Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he did not say that. If you can see the second expression, وَعَجَبَاهُ أَن تَكُونُ الْخِلَافَةُ أن تكون الخلافة بالصحابة ولا تكون بالصحابة والقرابة. How shocking it is that khilafah can happen with the companions, but it can't happen with the companions nor the kin. That's what Imam Ali said as an objection. You're saying that the only person that can be a Khalifa needs to be someone who is a Sahabi. Where did you get that from? Yani you're saying that the only person that can be a Khalifa can be a Sahabi. He cannot be from the Qaraba, one of the kin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. That is very, very shocking and surprising. So this is where we can see that it's important to look at the edition of the book that you are reading. It is important to look at the translation as well. I'm not talking about the Holy Quran. That's not my topic. But even with the Holy Quran, you need to be very, very careful when you make reference to the translation of the Holy Quran in whatever language it may be. Because most definitely a person's madhab will have an impact, will influence his or her understanding of what the ayah is and how that should be conveyed in the other language. My recommendation, I always recommend to use the English translation of the Holy Quran by Sayyid Ali Quli Qara'i, who is originally Indian, but he lives in Qom. Wonderful translation, accessible by everyone. That's why I'm, dedicated this session to speak about the edition, the commentary, the translation, because it really, really is important if we want to gain access to Nahj-ul-Balaghah in its genuine, real, honest, detailed form. Of course, these are only keys for my brothers and sisters. We're only touching the surface, and that's why I'm saying overview. Hopefully, what we are sharing with you all in these nights will motivate you to have more interest in wanting to read Nahj-ul-Balaghah. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلق الله محمد وآله الطاهرين. Do we have any comments or any questions? If not, we will go for ziyarah. Okay, thank you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
توجه زيارة. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس وأنيس النفوس، السلام عليك يا مدفون برز الطوس، السلطان العربي والأجم وأسيران كوفة شام ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
साथ मोमिन कल 7:30 जैसे कि रोज़ाना हो रहा है कुरान खानी का आगाज़, तो 7:30 पे कुरान खानी का आगाज़ हो जाता है। अब जैसे कि आपको मालूम है कि मगरिबैन की नमाज अब थोड़ा सा जल्दी हो रही है, तकरीबन आज 7:51 पे थी, तो कल मेरी इससे पहले थोड़ी 1-2 मिनट पहले होगी, तो कोशिश करके 7:25 तक भी आ जाए तो कुरान खानी का आगाज़ कर सकें।